Good evening, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, wherever you might be in the world at this moment. Welcome to RAYfest, our online labor of love and festival, celebrating women of spirit, and to our closing contemplation. I am Fatima Ashraf, and together with Saima Dyer, we are the co-creators of Ray of God. Ray seeks to share feminine spiritual wisdom to help realize God in all ways and to align with justice, truth, and beauty. The energetic state of the feminine is our guiding principle and holds our intention. And we believe that all genders hold the feminine and masculine within themselves. The aim of this festival has been to encounter, embody, and embrace. And our contributors have been speaking to the broad theme of her body. What is possible when we reconnect with our bodies and begin again to see them and the earth from which they are formed as sacred, regenerative, and holding wisdom. We have been blessed to welcome over the course of this weekend a diverse array of intergenerational, interspiritual contributors. They have been religious leaders, spiritual teachers, activists, academics, creatives, and so much more. They have left our hearts overflowing. We are so deeply grateful for each of their brave hearts. It is All Hallows Eve, or All Saints' Eve and Samhain, that midway point between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice. This has been a time to honor the saints, and we have held in our awareness that there have been many friends around the world in ceremony and prayer at the same time that our festival has been unfolding. It is now time for our final session, our closing contemplation. And I would like to welcome one of our beloved teachers and mentors, Camille Hamilton Adams Helminski. She is one of two hearts from whom we have learned, and we are still learning, the humbling gift of holding sacred space. She is the co-director of the Threshold Society and has long been dedicated to facilitating direct personal experience of the divine. She has helped to increase awareness of the integral contribution of women to the spiritual path of Islam with her now classic anthology, Women of Sufism, A Hidden Treasure. Together with her husband Kabir, she has published some of the finest modern English translations of the poetry of Jalaluddin Rumi. Camille has also produced two translations of classic texts that shed light on the teachings of Rumi and Shams of Tabriz, Rumi and His Friends, Stories of the Lovers of God, and Rumi's Son, The Teachings of Shams of Tabriz. She is the first woman to render a significant portion of the Qur'an into English with the heart opening, the light of dawn, daily readings from the Holy Qur'an. Her recent books of poetic reflection, including 99 Names of the Beloved, encourage the seeker in the journey towards intimacy with the source of life. Her forthcoming book, almost here, The Way of Mary, Maryam, Beloved of God, is a weaving of ancient sources, traditional stories, poetry and prayers of Islam, Christianity and Judaism and beyond, to reveal through the illuminated being and 12 life stations of beloved Mary, the palpable oneness of all creation, our oneness in spirit. Dearest Anna.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We begin in the name of God, the source of life, the infinitely compassionate, the infinitely merciful. And give thanks for these beautiful moments of gathering, for the beautiful holding of hearts of Fatima and Saima and all of the beautiful team and hearts supporting and hearts joining from around the world and carrying these fragrances and these moments of birthing. This body that is birthed into this life and birthed into other realms. Just a few minutes ago, word arrived that a dear, beloved friend from high school, her name Debbie Olive Russell, just passed into that other realm this morning. And God bless her, such a heart full of joy. We shared moments in a jug band in high school, in a quirky girls' prep school. Just delights of music and song and sunrise at the beach where we grew up in Florida. Such a dear, dear soul. And suddenly, a few weeks ago, received word that when she wasn't feeling well and went to the doctor, that she had stage 4 pancreatic cancer and a few weeks. And her response was yes. And awaiting that new adventure. God bless her. Such a beauty. We feel in these moments of transition between the fruitfulness of summer and the beautiful harvests, moving into the depths of winter and the shifting of the light. And yet we recognize that both the light and the dark are so integral, so important together. Moments of intensity are gifted that stretch our hearts, that stretch our bodies, that expand our soul's awareness. Many moments have been reflected on during this weekend of experience of hearts and souls, the challenges and the beauties. And in my own life, in a couple of weeks, it's the 50th anniversary of my parents' passing, sudden passing. And such beauties they were. I'm so grateful for the moments that we had together. And within them, considering these generational conveyances of which hearts have spoken this weekend, of 7 generations and more back, and 7 forward, and even more, 7 times 7, God willing. We recognize how much is carried, how much we are intermingled in blessing and in challenge. I can remember moments of my own mother, raising us 3 children, 3 girls, and her challenges. And yet, beyond that, recognizing her youngest daughter had difficulty with asthma, reaching out to others whose children struggled with health, forming something called Help Our Asthmatic Children, and then helping to establish the first air pollution control board in our town, which had, I think it was the 2nd worst air pollution in the whole United States. That was back in the 60s. And she, who also had some difficulties, emotional, psychological issues, yet was determined to clear the air for our sister to be able to breathe. And I can remember moments when she would get a phone call and it would be someone threatening her life because she was threatening the coal companies, threatening the railroads to shift to natural gas, to clear the air. And it was funny, our beloved daughter, Kara, was visiting just recently to help celebrate this one's 70th birthday. I can't believe it. And I'm wearing the earrings she made for me. And sorting through some papers, came across a story my mom had written about, working for clearing the air, and how it was the women who first recognized the need, for their children whose health they recognized would plummet when the air was not pure, when there were inversions and all of the pollution was held down. And funny moments of the women recognizing, back then women wore, nylon stockings a lot, and they would run because the air pollution was so bad, they would just shred. And the women got together in one moment, and there was going to be a really terrible inversion, air pollution. And they all hung their laundry out that night. And the next morning, it was covered with soot. And they all collectively took it down to the city hall and just poured it on the desks of the commissioners to say, look, this is what is happening. So even in simple ways, we can work together to rectify, to clear our air, our water, our hearts. Breath by breath. And let's just pause in just a little moment now to be aware of the breath, to be aware of this body, words being spoken, ears hearing, sensation of the air on the skin, feet settled on the floor and beneath, in some level, the earth. Thanks be to God. It's so beautiful that within the Islamic tradition, there is this recognition of the earth as sacred, that one can pray directly on the earth. One doesn't have to put even a carpet down. And one can use sand if water isn't available for the ritual washing. That recognition of the shift of electromagnetic field, that restoration of balance in a moment before prayer. It's been beautiful in this journey with beloved Maryam, the unfolding of this book of Mary's journey, to recognize again how all of nature was rising up in support in every moment of her journey, and how again and again we see that in the lives of the prophets and the saints. This unity of spirit between hearts and between everything in creation. We speak of this body, but is not this body also contiguous with everything that is, through this breath that is exchanged, moving in and out, through the nourishment we receive from other roots that have grown deep within the earth, and leaves that have stretched high into the skies, and the bird song that nourishes us, the fragrances that join us together. It is said that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that fragrance was very beloved to him, and that it was his zakat. In using fragrance, it was his charity to others to catch that fragrance. And even a smile, can be charity. So needed sometimes by another heart in a moment. So many beautiful stories came into awareness on this recent journey, and there was a moment that I hadn't heard of before, very beloved in the Christian tradition, but somehow even being raised in the Protestant faith when I was young, I hadn't encountered that there was a moment when Jesus was an infant and was looking up into his mother's eyes and just loving her eyes and her glance and the blueness of her eyes, and just feeling the wish that others could catch her glance and that beauty of those blue eyes. And then it came to his heart, this inspiration to just touch her eyes and then wave his hands over the earth, and suddenly forget-me-nots, these beautiful little blue flowers, arose as a remembrance. Forget-me-not, remember. And remember that one who is the creator, Al-Halik Al-Bari Al-Musawir, that one who is continually about some new endeavor. And as it has been reflected, that face, the face of the beloved, can be witnessed everywhere. Through another human being, our four-legged relations, and our trees, our flowers, the streams, the hills. There's a beautiful passage in the Psalms. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world and all they that dwell therein. This earth, what can it be but that extension of that hidden treasure unfolding? The earth belongs to that one that is beyond naming. In this moment it uses the word Lord, or the Rabbi, the one who educates, who raises up, who cherishes. And the fullness of it also belongs to that one. All of these beautiful endeavors, an unfolding from that source of life and being, from within that womb of compassion and mercy. And even as beloved Mary, in her deep receptivity, opened to the word of God. We remember Prophet Muhammad deep in the cave, in retreat, in that darkness, in that silence, opening to the Word of God. And in this moment again, let's return to the breath, to this vessel we inhabit that supports us walking on this earth. Breath by breath, with the capacity for receptivity and for expression, for sharing. Vibration by vibration, heart to heart. Yawadud, this name, O infinitely loving one. Ya Kareem, O infinitely generous one. Pouring breath by breath. And we recognize that these moments of creativity may sometimes be joyous and full of song, and in other moments may be full of an intense constriction, compression, and a weight, compressing that rose oil forth from those roses. You know, it takes 10,000 pounds, I think it is, of rose petals to make 1 pound of rose oil. Such intensity. You know? And yet we have the capacity to accompany that intensity and bring forth such beauty. It said Prophet Muhammad, when he would receive revelation, you know, he would feel that intense compression and sometimes a ringing of bells or buzzing of bees. He would break out into a sweat. And if he were riding his camel would fall to its knees under the weight of the word of the beloved. And we recognize how, you know, these bodies hold such moments. And such a camel, you know, it is said his camel, Kaswa, was the one who chose his abode when they made their hijrah to Medina. You know, rather than asking himself, the prophet of God, or someone else, you know, to make that choice, as they might be influenced by, you know, some modicum of favoritism in some way, you know, and might not see clearly. He said, let the camel choose, let Kaswa choose. And he let go the reins. You know? So she wandered and almost paused and then went and then settled. And that was where he settled. So we recognize the wisdom within all creation. There was a moment recently when there was something that was calling me to be done and to be completed, and this one had moved through a certain process that it seemed that it should be going towards a completion. And yet there was something in this body that was feeling uneasy with it. I'm trying to pay attention. And then in a moment, it was like a visit from Balaam from the Bible. I don't know if how many of you may know this story, but there was a moment when there was this man named Balaam, and he was on a mission for the government and taking, this message. And suddenly his donkey, he was riding a donkey, his donkey stopped. And at first he started, to beat the donkey. But then the donkey turned and spoke to him and said, "Can't you see this huge angel standing in front of me, blocking the road?" And then Balaam could see and recognize, no, stop, turn around, change direction. Yeah. So in moments we may get carried away with our processes, or feel a certain responsibility is carrying us in a certain direction, but we can pause in a moment and check in. And this body has an infinite wisdom. And all of nature is here to teach us, living its own beauty and wisdom. So much to learn. So much. So many songs to hear. So many beauties to witness. And in those moments of duress, even as when beloved Mary, it is said in the Quranic tradition, was in labor and grasped the support of a palm tree for assistance. It said there was a double miracle because the palm tree had withered. And yet, with her touch, suddenly it came to life. And then it is said she heard a voice saying to her, eat and drink and cool your eye. The palm rained dates upon her and a stream rose from underneath her. So from every direction, assistance may arrive. In every direction, we may witness the face of the beloved. And we may often have an understanding of an inner wisdom we may not even realize until we pause and ask the question. One of the pieces of art included in the book of The Way of Mary is a beautiful painting, I'll show you in a moment, by a man named Joseph Stella, who was actually renowned for his modernist portraits of the Brooklyn Bridge. And yet he painted this beautiful portrait of Maryam. But in reflecting on his building of bridges, it reminded this heart again of another moment when she was young, and as I recall, it was in 7th grade in junior high school, when in our social studies class we were asked to take some moments and reflect on what will your life be 20 years from now. And in that moment, what came to this heart was she would be married to someone who was an international bridge builder and have 3 children. And in that moment, we're living in the south of France. But my husband was off somewhere to the east, beyond Italy, maybe Istanbul, building bridges at a conference. And this one might join after our children recovered from the measles. So, some of this unfolded. We, in a moment, can see forward and we can see backward. We can see things that may have happened in the past, things our families may be carrying that need restoration, that need bridges built in the past to allow the movement forward, the traversal of hearts, the clearing, and recognizing, even great difficulties or harm that may have been done to other peoples by our ancestors, that we have an opportunity to reweave. And it's beautiful that this is one of the principles of the ray of God, of that bringing forth of justice. And it begins in a recognition and a holding of both the darkness and the light, the difficulties and the ease. There was another moment in beloved Maryam's journey when she was in the desert. And moments in carrying a child can be heavy, and it is said she carried with her this little plant, which now women of the Arabian Peninsula use for ease of labor pains. And it came to be called Kaf Maryam, which means the Mary's palm, or the palm of her hand. And the amazing thing of it is it looks like a dry tumbleweed, as though there's no life in it. And yet when the least bit of moisture begins to arrive, it awakens. And it comes to full life. And beautiful little white flowers blossom. So it's also come to be known as the resurrection plant. Kaf Maryam. So she unveils for us in many moments that possibility of resurrection, of coming to new life. And through all the difficulties of our journeying and the joyous moments, to recognize these possibilities of new weavings, of new life, of restoration, of love. There's a beautiful little quatrain of Mevlana's Jalaluddin Rumi where he says, "Oh, beloved, we are bound in friendship with you." Speaking to God. "Oh, beloved, we are bound in friendship with you. Wherever you may step, we are the ground for you. In the madhab, the school of love, One can't see the world through you and not see you. So many beauties to be witnessed. There's a beautiful quote from Einstein where he says, "What I see in nature is a magnificent structure that we can only imperfectly comprehend, and that must fill a thinking person with a feeling of humility." And this reminds us of, the who of human, that presence of God within this humanness. And that we also contribute to the humus of the earth, to that richness of the soil and that cycling of creativity. And I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but there was just a beautiful reminder that arose at our doorstep. Let's see if you can see this. In a moment, this is redbud leaves emerging from the cement at the foundation of the steps of this house. Hearts, green hearts. And such a witnessing to how, in the midst of intense challenge, life emerges. Life finds a way. There is hope. There is resilience. This creative source is continually about some new endeavor, and nothing is impossible with God. That one source that is always calling us, always inviting us. Through which we are held, through which we breathe, and all our capacities. And to share another moment of Mevlana Rumi. First, I should show you Stella's painting. Maybe you can see it. It's so beautiful to see the way he caught that sense of, where does she begin and the earth, it's all so interwoven. We are all so interwoven, heart to heart. So resting in the heart with this breath as we near the completion of this beautiful offering and sharing. A reminder of how the Beloved is calling us, pulling us even more than we may be yearning. Mevlana Rumi says, "Our desire for you arises from your urgency. Wherever there is a wayfarer, it is God pulling, that divine source calling us. Does the dust leap upward without a wind? Does a ship voyage without the sea? No one ever died in the presence of the water of life. Compared with your water, the water of life is just dregs. The water of life is the goal of those to whom life is dear. By water, the garden becomes fertile and smiles. But those who drain the cup of death are living through his love. They have torn their hearts away from life and the water of life. When the water of your love reached out to us, even the water of life became worthless in our sight. Every soul derives freshness from the water of life, but you are the water of life. You bestowed on me a spiritual death and a resurrection continually, that I might experience the conquering power of your beauty, your bounty. This bodily dying became as easy to me as sleeping, from my confidence that you, O God, would raise me from the dead. If the seven seas become a mirage at every moment, you will take the water by the ear and bring it back, O water of the water. Reason trembles with fear of death, but love is valiant. And in an earlier moment, God communicates to the eye that which he wills of beauty and of perfection and of loving glances. And he communicates to the ear that which he wills of music and glad tidings and exultations. The world is full of remedies, but you have no remedies until God opens a window for you. Though you're unaware of that remedy now, God will make it clear in the hour of need. And as he reminds us in another moment, the whole business of love is to make this window in the heart, to open that window and to gaze upon the beloved in every moment. And as he says, oh friend, this is your capacity. This is a gift of your power given by God to open that window over and over again. We give thanks to that source of light and life and beauty, to the depths of the darkness that gives birth, where sometimes we can listen the most deeply. We rejoice in each other's hearts. These infinite interweavings beyond time and space. Subhanallah, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Glory be to God, sustainer of all worlds. Ooh.